Hey guys, welcome back to Teal Homestead. If you're new here, my name is Tiffany and I raise rabbits and chickens and I garden. I've been promising my subscribers a chicken coop time-lapse because I just built it and I've been recording the entire process on my iPhone so that it is finally done for the most part. There's a couple of things that still need to be done to it, but for the most part it's pretty much done. So we're gonna go ahead and roll the time-lapse footage, and after that we're gonna take a small tour of it. So a lot of people choose to start their chicken coops using 4x4s, but I decided that it made more sense in my head to start with two 2x4s for each corner and then screw them together in an L shape, just because to me it seems like it would be easier to attach things. And I wasn't working with any instructions here. I was just winging it for the whole chicken coop. And that's kind of how I work, that's kind of how I learned. So, and then I took out all of my L-shaped 2x4s out to where I wanted the chicken coop to be, because I knew that once I had started working on it, it was going to start to get heavy and I didn't want to have to drag that across the entire yard. So I started putting together the structure, and I also had Jameson help me lift both of those pieces up and screw them together. And then I started adding more supports. And then it was time to install my windows, and the windows that I got, I just looked up on Facebook Marketplace for old barn windows. So these were pretty cheap. I think they were like $10 or $15 a piece. And I just started putting the windows in the coop structure, and I didn't look for any instructions on how to do this. I just kind of went with my gut on how I wanted to do it. I didn't want the windows to be able to open. I just wanted them to sit inside of the structure because I had plans to put vents on the side of the coop, so the windows opening wasn't something that I was wanting to do here. Do you ever have a moment where, you're putting something together, and as you're putting it together, you know in the back of your mind that you are going to end up redoing the way that you've done this? That was me with the side window. And then I started putting the base in, and I just put a 2x2 on each side of the chicken coop so I could lay down my boards across. And originally I put 2x4s across for the floor, but I did end up switching out the 2x4s later on in this time lapse. You'll see where I actually take these out and put 2x2s down instead, just because I wanted more even support. And then I started putting in some boards on the base of the chicken coop, and this was for a couple of different reasons. It was for structure, just more support at the bottom, and it was also because I wanted this area to be an enclosed space for the chickens. So that is why I put hardware cloth down there, because once they tear up all the grass and everything, I think it would be really cool to have like a little dust bath area for them down there. And then I started inserting the area where I wanted my door for the chickens to go out and in of the coop. I started putting that together just so I had a visual idea and there was some structure there once I was ready to put the door in. And here I am redoing the floor where I take my 2x4s out, and I decided to replace the 3 2x4s with 4 2x2s instead. This just made it so the weight was more evenly dispersed on the whole floor of the coop. And then I decided for this side window, I didn't like how I put it in originally, so I redid how that went in. And I also was frustrated that there were only 2 windows in the chicken coop, so I ended up tearing out the small window in the front of it, and I replaced it with a giant window that I also bought off of Facebook Marketplace. And then I also wanted to use that smaller window that I took out of the front on the side, just because I like things looking really even. So I had Jameson come out and help me put that window in. And I also had him trim our willow tree down because it was really starting to get in the way on one side. And I didn't get this on camera, but I put the plywood down over my 2x2s, and here I am screwing it down so there's a nice supported floor down there, and I cut linoleum to size. And originally I was using this wood glue, and it works really well for wood to wood applications, but I quickly learned that this probably wasn't the best glue to use to put the linoleum down. So I had to go back inside and get the tough as nails glue with my glue gun, I guess that's what you call it, glue dispenser, whatever, and I put that down instead, and I could immediately tell a difference because the linoleum was definitely sticking after that. And then I started assembling my roof structure. My roof was a 15-degree slope, and here you'll see me putting in 4 supports for the roof. And like many things on this chicken coop, this was something that I actually redid, and you'll see it as soon as we start putting the roof on. There are 5 supports instead of just 4. Here I was trying to even out the length of all the roofing supports, just because I wanted a nice 7-inch overhang on the front and the back. And there you go, 5 supports. And Jameson came out and helped me put the roofing on. It's just corrugated metal roofing from Lowe's. And we screwed that down with roofing screws that have the seal on them, so when it rains, nothing is going to be able to get in. Once the roof went on, I could really see this starting to come together. And as I was cutting my plywood for the front, I actually totally forgot to record cutting out the window and the door, but I measured where the window and the door were, and I just cut it out with a circular saw, and then I screwed it onto the front. Then I measured out the side, and I just cut out where my vent areas were going to be on the side, and also where the windows were going to be. And you guys will see that here in a second. Once my holes were cut out of my siding, I put it up there, and actually it was such a good fit that I didn't even have to have anyone hold it for me or anything. But then I screwed it in. And also, side note, you'll see that there's a back door on the coop, but I don't want to show you guys how I did that because I ended up completely redoing it, and it was probably, for some reason, the hardest part for me to figure out the back. But for my vent areas, I cut out some hardware cloth, and I just screwed that up on my vent areas. And these were just going to create a nice cross breeze for my chickens because it gets really hot here sometimes, and I just wanted to make sure that they had enough ventilation. And I did the exact same thing for the other side. I cut my holes out for my window and my vents, and then I put more hardware cloth up on that side. And then here I am finally fixing the back, and basically what the back is it's another piece of plywood where I've just cut out a 24 by I think 14 or 15 inches high hole in the back of it, because this is where my nest boxes are gonna go. And here I am just putting on like the siding where the hinges are gonna go, and then on the other side the latches and the handle are gonna go on that side. And finally we were able to put the hinges on the door, and it was working beautifully. I started putting trim up around where the nest box was going to be, and I also started working on the nest box, but unfortunately for you guys, my iPhone completely ran out of space, and I was unable to catch a lot of the nest box creation. But that is why I will not be using my iPhone for these projects anymore. And I'm really sorry for the glare as well. Yeah, that's really bright. But I just inserted the nest box into there and I put a roof on it, and you'll see it when we start painting. So I chose to paint the inside of my coop white, and I know a lot of people are going to be like, why in the world would you do that? It's just gonna get covered in poop. And trust me, I know. I grew up around chickens, guys. It's gonna get disgusting, but the whole deal with the white paint was that I just wanted it to look a little bit lighter and airier. And also, it wasn't really about the paint color for me, it was more about weatherproofing the chicken coop and just kind of sealing it so the weather wouldn't harm the wood. But I really wanted to let my chickens have a nice light space to live. The worst part about this painting job was actually painting around the hardware cloth. I eventually just gave up and I painted the hardware cloth, and I actually think it looks kind of cool because the hardware cloth is white now. I might try to paint it black in the future, but yeah, it looks really cool. That door was driving me absolutely crazy because the wind kept blowing it open and shut against my garden bed, so in the tour you guys will see how I fixed that. And there's the nest box all created. That's what it looks like. It's just a little box structure that comes out of the coop, and the door lifts up, it's on hinges, and that's eventually going to be where we can collect our eggs. I would venture to say that there's actually more white on this chicken coop than there is the color we actually chose to color the chicken coop. I underestimated how much trim and interior parts of the coop there actually was. And finally, here's the color that we chose to paint the coop. It is Valspar's Jazzy Red, and I just always kind of wanted a little tiny barn looking structure on our property, so I'm really excited that it's white and red. It just reminds me of a little barn. And also I've read that chickens actually really like the color red, so maybe it'll make them happy as well. It was really hot that day, guys, and in these last segments you can probably see how I've gotten a sunburn just from being out there for so long. And even since this video right here was shot, we have added more trim on the chicken coop as well, so it does look a little bit more finished than this. And you'll see that in the tour. It's still not completely finished, but I'm really happy with where it is right now. Well, it took many hours, guys, but the painting was finally done, and now it is finally time for you to tour our chicken coop. Alright guys, so that was the time lapse, and without further ado, here's the chicken coop. I chose to go with Premier One PermaNet just because I was a little bit tired and I didn't have time to really finish the chicken coop with an actual fence structure, but I actually really like this because every time I need to mow I can just move it. But the PermaNet is made to be not moved as often, and it's really nice. It doesn't sag. I know a lot of people say that they sag, but this is actually, it's put together very nice, and I think it looks really nice, so I'm really impressed with the PermaNet. We have a little ramp here for them, and here is our door, and it's not perfect, and I still need to figure out how to make it a little bit better. You just take this paracord and carabiner and you can pull on it and the door will open. And then over here I just have this little eyelet over here where I can just snap it in like that, and then the door stays open. So that's how I designed that. And the one thing that I wish that I would have done, I wish I would have made these right here a little bit taller, so it was more halfway up right here, and I might still redo that, but I really like how the door works. It's really convenient for me, and the electric is not on the PermaNet right now because we don't have power running out here yet, but we will eventually. But here are the girls, and they are very happy with their coop. I just love how big the window is in the front. I'm really glad that I switched out the window from the small one to the big one because I just think that is so cool looking. And then the side here, we just have it open right now, and it's been really hot here. And I'm not super worried about it raining in or anything like that. By winter, we really need to make some like shutters or something for right here. And I'm thinking just something to cover this, and then it can be propped up so it comes at an angle like this, and then it gets propped up at the bottom. Just because I really think that cross breeze is going to be really helpful in keeping the coop not so smelly, I guess. So yeah, that is what that looks like right now. So that's not completely finished, but it's good for right now in the summer when it's very hot. And our willow tree has gotten very green and it looks really cool up there. And here is the back, and the nest box is complete. I didn't get to record a whole lot of that completing this part of it, but I did put the metal roofing on it as well. And the only thing is my roofing screws were too long, so they're actually going through, and this isn't permanent, we're gonna redo it, but this is all I had available at the time. And these are actually blunt-ended screws, so I'm not super worried about the chickens getting hurt or anything like that, but it looks silly, so I am going to be redoing that. That's what the roof looks like. Just a metal roof, and I mean, you can see through right here. And I think that's okay, especially for right now in the summer. I might cover up in the winter, and I might try to make that more like boxed in, I guess. Down here, I feel like we didn't get a very good close look on this on the time lapse, but down here is where I put hardware cloth, and the chickens are able to get underneath the chicken coop. And eventually, once they wear all the grass out, we'll probably put sand down there so they can have some sort of a sand bath. And over here, we have these little latches. And they open like this. This one's a little bit stuck sometimes. Like I said, guys, it's not perfect, but it is a very nice DIY in my opinion. And here's the inside of the coop, where we only have Chickpea left right now. She's gonna climb down the ramp. They have been in here for about a week, maybe a little bit more. I mean, it's probably been right around a week, but this is what it looks like. We're gonna be doing the deep litter method, and eventually their food and water won't be in here, but right now they can still escape the PermaNet every once in a while, so I'm just keeping an eye on them whenever they are outside. Once they get a little bit bigger, their food and water will be going under here, and we're gonna be trying to do some like DIY like PVC food and waterers, so I need to do a little bit more research on how those are done. And then I installed this little spring here because this door, every time I was opening it, it wanted to open all the way up and it would hit my garden bed over there. So now it wants to close every time that it's open, so that was helpful. And then here's the nest boxes on the inside. And this little thing right here can be removed. If you open this up here, you can actually just take this out and remove it, and then it's easier to clean. And it's just very like light and airy in here, and I'm really happy that I used white paint. I know that a lot of people are going to think that's crazy, but I wanted to use white paint because it would look lighter in here. And also, I'm not really interested in the color of what the inside of the coop is. It was more about weatherproofing it. And then that's what the ceiling looks like. It's just really open. They don't have any roosts yet, but I do have plans for the roosts, and I'll show you guys when I go back up to the house. Hello, ladies. How's everybody? Playing with the corn cobs again. But yeah, I love having chickens. I think this is so much fun. They do get under there every once in a while. I was very proud of them last night because I accidentally forgot that they were out here, and it got dark, and then before bed I was like, oh man, I gotta go get the chickens and gather them up and put them inside the coop. And they had actually put themselves away, so they are growing up, and I'm so proud of them. Here's a better look on the coop from the front view. Like I said, that door when it opens, it's just a little bit crooked, but it's okay. I really, really like it. This side looks just like the other side. It's just open. we'll be putting little shutters on there eventually. I like that they're under this willow tree because they get a little bit of shade. And actually, when the sun is beating down, it's been very hot the last couple of days, but when the sun is beating down, it looks shady over here, and so I'm really happy about that. And that actually prompted me to think about moving the rabbits back here. But we'll talk more about that in the future. So for their roost, I actually have these giant birch limbs. I think they're birch anyway. And we're going to be installing these inside of the coop. So yeah, I really like just how it's just all gnarly down there. It's really cool looking. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and time lapse of the chicken coop DIY project. Maybe it inspired you. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. There's a lot of projects that we still have to do this summer, and I hope you guys follow along. If you're enjoying the content, share it with your friends, and I would be super, super appreciative. And I will see you guys on the next video. Bye, guys.